Katrina here from Scrappy Horses, and today I'm bringing you a circus theme project. This has been great fun since today I am a guest designer over at Crafters Castle Challenge. I invite you to come over to Crafters Castle Challenge and check out all the wonderful projects there by the team, and also consider sharing your project in the challenge. The challenge is so generously sponsored by Taylormadecards4u. Monica is such an incredibly creative designer, and I know you're going to want to go over and check out what she has to offer, especially in this Passport to the Circus kit. For your reference, here's where you will find the different pieces that are included in my set today. Here are the dimensions of the different pieces I used. I'm sure that if you've been crafting for a while, you might already have some of these pieces or pieces very much like them in your stash. These are just some rough estimates of sizes. Of course, you can cut them to whatever size meets your need. I'm going to start off with my peanut box. Of course, you could use this box for whatever treat you like. The score lines were already there from when I cut it in my Cricut. However, I like to go in and sometimes go over those again and just burnish those in really, really sharply. Coming in with some double-sided tape, and I'll just go ahead and put those on my tabs. And then I will come in and put some ink over my edges. Now I decided to use some champagne colored ink. Kind of will give it a vintage look since it's a circus theme, and I thought this was sort of vintage looking papers. I'm just going to keep moving along until all of my edges are inked in this vintage color. Now I'm going to come in and remove the liner off my double-sided tape. Cover it with a little bit of fabric tack. This will give me some wiggle room when I place the box together. You can see that I can sort of still move that because the glue goes over the tape, but the tape will come in and grab so that I don't have to wait on that glue to dry. Then I went over that with a little more ink, and now I'm inking the bottom of my box. And I'll go ahead and put that together the same way. Little double-sided tape. I will come in and put it on both sides just because it's the bottom of the box and I want it to be very strong. I'll remove the backing of the tape, put a little glue on there, and then press that together firmly. Now I'm bringing in some glittery tape here just to sort of add some fun and sparkle to the top of the box. If you don't have sparkle or shimmer tape, then you could use ribbon or burlap or any other sort of wider piece. And then I'm coming in with just a piece of string, just regular grocery store string, making a little bow, and I'm just going to scoot that up right underneath where that sparkle tape is laying on the box. Once my bow is done and I have my string slid up where I like it, then I simply cut off the ends of the little ties there, and that completes our little peanut box. Time to move on to our candy box. Now I'm using this little poster piece and this ticket, and these two pieces are from the Passport to the Circus kit. And I'm going to use some sort of like a belly band idea around the box. I'm coming in and I'm burnishing down those edges, those fold lines, so that I get a nice crisp fold on those. I found this size box was a great size to fit a couple of those fun size candy wraps in. For example, if you have M&Ms or Skittles. You also could divide up some larger candies and put them in some plastic wrap and put those in your box, and that would work also. Here I'm coming in and I'm inking with the vintage colored ink. Again, just to give it that older look. And then I'll come in and I'll start assembling this box. I'm bringing in my double-sided tape and I'm running it along the tabs that will be glued into the bottom of the box. This particular box has a closure on the top. It'll just glue on the sides and the bottoms. And again, I'm putting 2 pieces of double-sided tape here just to make sure that those seams really do stay adhered. I will be using glue on top of my double-sided tape just because I want to make sure that I get it lined up correctly. And if you saw the first part of this video, you know that sometimes I'm not real sure that's going to happen. So I really like that glue to give me that wiggle room so that I can get things lined up the way I like them. So now I'm going to start the bottom of the box by removing the backing from the tape and again bringing in my fabric tack, putting a little smudge of that over the double-sided tape, and then I'll just press in the tabs and adhere those into place. Once I have everything positioned where it goes, then I can bring in my ink and go around all those unfinished edges. And there's that little closure I told you about. Next, we're going to work on a little belly band sort of idea that's going to go in around the box. I'm using the ticket from the Passport to the Circus Kit, and it's going to go around in a horizontal fashion and connect up to this little poster piece. Now I did back the poster piece with some scrap, sort of goldenrod color to match the clown's outfit, and a piece of black scrap paper. So I'm folding these around, and they don't have to be perfect because you're going to place this on top and make that band that's going to be able to slide on and off. Now in retrospect, I wish I had tied up my box first and then put my belly band over it, but this gives me an opportunity to show you how I fed this through. I just wrapped it over a bone folder and just pushed that string through. That made it really easy to get through. But like I said, in retrospect, I think I would have tied it up first and then I would have put that belly band on the top. So there I am pushing it around the bone folder and pushing it through underneath. I decided it might be good if I'm going to put candy inside of here to tie this up at the top just to be sure that it stayed closed once my candy was inside. It also adds just a little bit more interest to this box to have that little bow. Again, this is the same kitchen string or grocery store string that I used on the peanut box. And this completes this little candy box. I love that poster. I think it's so cute. We're moving on now to the cup wrapper. Now, once I cut this cup wrapper, I immediately put it into my cup, and that gave it the rounded shape that I wanted. It sort of trained my paper to go ahead and take that shape. And then came in and with that vintage color, which I believe is cashmere from Close to My Heart, but it is a retired color, I'm sure. I'm going around and I'm just finishing off all the edges. The star paper as well as the red and white striped paper are in that Passport to the Circus kit. So all of the papers except for the scrap papers you are going to find in that Passport to the Circus kit from Taylormadecards4u. Now moving on, I'm just carefully wrapping this around, matching up my seam, and I'm just using one of those ever popular plastic red solo cups. It may even be a generic one. It may not even be a real solo cup. So you can just sort of measure your cup, whatever cup it is you want to use, and kind of make a good guesstimate on what size you want your wrapper to be. Again, I have that on that screen at the beginning of the video. you'll see the size that I cut mine. Now the size of my cup is approximately 5 inches tall and 11 inches around at the very top of the cup. So that kind of gives you an idea of what size that is. Again, this yellow piece is just a piece of scrap paper from my stash, and I just used it to go right behind that circus poster cut that is from the Passport to the Circus kit. Now, I want to add a little disclaimer here. I use this crafter's tape, but I'm going to tell you, I don't feel like it held very well. So I went ahead and added a little bit of fabric tack glue to this to hold that in place. Probably because it curves around that way, it just didn't want to stick real well. So I'm using a little bit of glue under there. I'm not showing that on the video. Now that our cup is complete, we can move on to the invitation. Now this was a lot of fun to design. I used a tent cut from the Cricut library. If you don't have that, you can basically trace out a triangle and use a triangle for this, or you could use some other tent cut that you might already have in your stash. I went ahead and pre-printed the circus posters onto the tent, and then I also print and cut some more exactly the same size. Now I'm going to cut straight down the middle of this on that line, and I'm bringing out a cutting board that has a grid on it so that I can just line up my ruler straight down that 7-inch mark, and I'm just going to slice this with a razor blade. Now there are all kinds of tools you can use for slicing this, so if you are not comfortable working with single-edged razor blades, then I would definitely use the tool that you are most comfortable working with. I am comfortable working with razor blades because in my real life, I worked as an oboist for many years and made my own reeds and worked with single edge razor blades all the time. So for me, this is not a dangerous tool, but I understand for some people it might be. So please always choose the tool that you're comfortable with. Now that I have this sliced in half, I'm going to go ahead and put some of that vintage color around the edges that I sliced, as well as around the edge there that I might have missed when I was inking it before. And I'm going to bring in the back and the text portion of the invitation. Now, because I'm working with white here, white cardstock, I really want to clean up my workspace. I've learned over the years of crafting that if I don't clean it up, I'm going to be in trouble. And a lot of times I can use this hand sanitizer, and it cleans up all the ink from my fingers as well as the ink from the glass mat that I work on top of. This is a great precaution to keep that white cardstock white. So now that I have my work area clean and I have these pieces brought in, I can adhere the white verbiage piece to the black back of the invitation. And I'm just going to use some adhesive tape for that. I'm just holding it down with my left hand, holding it in place, putting the glue down, or actually the tape down with my tape runner, and then pressing it into place. And then once it's in place, then I can just lift up the other side and put my tape runner down for the remainder of the card. Here I'm bringing in my scoreboard so that I can score in some fold lines on the sides of my tent flaps. Now you'll notice on my scoreboard that I have a black mark down the 6-inch line. I did that so that I can easily see if I'm lining up, for example, in this case, I'm lining up a stripe. And I just want that stripe to be at the top and the bottom there. And now I'm just going to score that into place. And that's where my tent flap is going to adhere to the front of the card. Then I can just repeat the procedure for the other side of the card. I line up the appropriate stripe so that the measurement is the same as the other tent flap. I lined it up on my 6" again, just makes it easy since I have that black mark down the middle of my scoreboard. I go ahead and score that into place. And once I have scored it in, then I will flip it over and use my bone folder to burnish it back. So I have a nice crisp fold on it. Very easy to do. So now I have my 2 tent flaps ready to go on my tent. All I do now is just line it up with my back and go ahead and adhere the tent flaps into place. So I'm going to bring in my double-sided tape, run it along the edge, remove the backing, and then adhere it in with a little bit of glue. And I definitely will want to use glue here because I definitely don't want to misplace it, have it grab on and stick, and then have it, what we would call in the Midwest, cattywampus. And I guess it is a Midwest term, cattywampus. I don't know, maybe you can let me know in the comments below if you've heard that before. But cattywampus just means all crooked and not lined up well. Once I have my tent flaps in place, I will be moving on to that little ticket that I cut, and it is also included in the passport to the circus kit. And I'm going to put that on the inside so it's peeking through the little doorway there in the tent flap. It has the little puppy on it, and I think that puppy is so adorable. I just think that the ticket is so cute. I have a thing about tickets anyway, so I just thought that was adorable. I actually gave it a little bit of dimension by sort of pushing it up a little bit on the edge so that it sort of sticks up and through. Here I'm just sort of moving some of that glue so that it makes a bunch of it right there so it'll stick really well right there and kind of pop up through there. Now I have these little posters cut separately, and I'm backing the 2 smaller ones with some cereal box just to give it a tiny bit of dimension. And then behind the big posters, I actually put a thicker piece of foam behind those to stick up even higher off. So it makes the front of the invitation a little more dimensional. So there's the back and the front, and you can see that you can open it up from the sides and the little ticket is there, and you can write in the information about your circus party. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I am so happy you came by to visit, and I encourage you to check out the information box below and visit with Crafter's Castle Challenge and Tailor-Made Cards for You. Have a great day.